subscriber now has what in the company? A picture, a statue of me up. I look on the front row and I see another person that I purposely introduced, my goddaughter and her husband Jahi, because I want to tell you a little thing about my goddaughter, who's really like my daughter. Her whole purpose in life is to be one level higher than me. Give her a hand because we have to aspire for the world. Let me tell you, my mom told me I had certain things in life. I was born in the United States. She thought I had 2 privileges over everyone else. I was born in this country. She was right. No one is trying to bust the hell out of here. Nobody's trying to break out of the United States. Everybody's trying to get in here. That's straight up. That's straight up talk, man. And I was born to good parents. And let me tell you, if you got good parents, you have an advantage over everything else. I was born, and they were right. 17 times I've been the first African American in the workplace. 17 times I had no option to fail. Many of those times I spent time in the bathroom crying, asking God to give me strength. And He would send an angel 17 times that didn't look like me, that would cross over and choose to make me successful. 7 times I have looked at Lee Ryan and said, Lee Ryan, you aren't good enough to go on. So I reinvented myself purposely 7 times. I learned to skate where the hockey puck is going instead of where the hockey puck is. And now I'm reinventing myself what time? Number 8. Now she's going to follow. You heard her scream 8 because she knows every one of them. Let me tell you this, and let me say this to everyone in this room. You have to play within the rhythm of society. Being an outlier only makes you vulnerable. Let's go to the next chart. Let's talk about this. 2 60-year-old people that had been married for 30 years were walking on the beach. All of a sudden, they felt something on the ground, and it was a genie bottle. They picked the bottle up and they rubbed it, and guess what popped out? You're a brilliant crowd. The genie came out and saw these 2 people, 60 years old, who had been married 30 years, and he said, you know what? I'm going to give each one of you a wish. So the genie and the guy looked at the lady and said, you go first. The lady said, you know, I have sacrificed my whole life and never had anything for myself, for my family, helping this guy, and I've given all, and I always wanted a beautiful diamond necklace. The genie said, you know, you have done that. And poof, she got this beautiful diamond necklace. Looked at the guy. The guy said, well, you may not like this. What do you mean? He said, we're both 60 years old and we've been married 30 years, but I have a wish and you're not going to like it. The genie said, what is the wish? The guy said, I want a woman 30 years younger than me. Oh, man. Jesus said, you what? He said, I want a woman 30 years younger than me. I'm 60 years old and I deserve it. The genie said, your wife's not going to like this. He said, I don't care if you like it or not. I want me a woman 30 years younger than me. I'm 60 years old. The genie said, okay, okay. And poof, instantly the man became 90 years old. You like that, didn't you? I knew I'd wake your butts up sooner or later. Okay, we want to be what? We want to be careful what we ask for. You just might get it. What will it take to be a successful business and entrepreneur over the next 10 years? Let's talk about this real quickly. You must change with the times. What worked when I entered the workplace in 1972 will not work in 2015. You have to change. Next chart. Let's just talk about perspectives. When I grew up, I never thought that I'd live to see a black man or an African American become president. Now catch this. My granddaughter, Gabrielle, who's 7 years old, thinks all presidents are African American. It's amazing, isn't it? Think about all the technology. I mean, satellites, TV, calculators, abacus, all these things that I have, email, fax machines, all this technology. Gabrielle has all the technology right now in the what? Palm of her hand. Everything I spent my whole life doing. Why are you laughing? Because it's true. Gabrielle has caught me and in the palm of her hand. Let's look at the next one. When we talked about rap, we didn't talk about a dude talking rhythmically with some words. Let's look at the next one. If I said I have a Coke, they wouldn't bust me in jail on a drug bust. Let's talk about Tahiti, 2 Chainz. I might have said 2 Chainz or Chain Gang. I wouldn't talk about a 6'5" brother that's rapping and making a whole lot of money. By the way, a college grad and very smart. Let's talk about the next one. An usher was a person that what? Went to church and helped people to run in. It wasn't Ramon, was it? The point is perception. Ideas. They change. And you must do what? And the generation that has to change isn't the current generation, it's the what? Now, I'm always asked this about corporate America. You know, people say, well, you do these multi-year program hunts and all this stuff. And let's talk about entrepreneurship. You have to have something people want. The next thing is you have to upgrade your skills to be marketable, transferable, and forward-looking. Marketable. You have to be able to do what? Sell it. Transferable, it has to be more than one usage, and it has to be able to go across different businesses. And it has to be forward-looking. It can't be outdated before you put it out. Most businesses nowadays, if you don't believe outdated, buy a cell phone. Before you can get the sucker home, somebody's done what to it? Outdated. The next thing is that you have to examine your competition. By knowing your competition's strengths and weaknesses, you also know whose strengths and weaknesses. The next thing is that people will compete against you whether you want to compete against them or not. How many of you bought a house and someone got jealous? You get my drift? Compete. You have no choice but to compete. Understand your value. Understand the competitor's value. Let me tell you this. My corporate buddies, and I can talk about them because I'm one, always tell people to be loyal to companies. People are a hell of a lot more loyal to companies than companies are to people. It's my personal experience. And I've been over some, so I can talk. Now let me ask you this question. If you don't believe me, how many people do you know have been laid off while their companies are announcing billions of dollars worth of profit? Does anyone know of that? Come on and clap. It's the truth. Now, let me tell you. The point behind that, and I say it to my CEO buddies, companies seek to maximize what? Customer value and shareholder value. Why should they expect you not to do that? That's larceny. Send your resume out. Find out your value, but you will also, in the process of finding out your value, also find out what you might be what? Deficient in. So when that day comes and someone sends you outside, you are still what? Competitive. I sent out resumes, it used to make my boss so mad, I sent out resumes every 18 months. Because he would say, Lee, why are you doing? I said, I'm nobody's fool. The first time I don't do good, you get rid of me. But when I'm going to keep myself marketable, transferable, and I'm going to know my value, so I'm going to make sure your butt pay me right too. Every day is an interview. Every time you meet somebody, you are doing what with that person? They are interviewing you and you are interviewing them. Take advantage of it. You leave a lasting impression. The next one is, in the business environment, don't talk about what race, politics, or religion. People just can't handle it. Next one. This world is global and diverse. Let me tell you, we saw that tonight. Get over it. 7 billion people. Their religion, their cultures, and things will be different. Your job is to find your place, understand it, and work within it. Don't try to change the whole world like you. It won't work. We see that on TV now. The next thing is, understand the customer must be nurtured, listened to, and understood. I want to skip to social equity. Does anyone understand what social equity is? It's that thing that you have gotten and done that makes people feel that you are special. And most people burn up their way. Social equity. Let's just look at some examples. All of a sudden, the person is feeling good about you and giving you examples like mentoring you and making you do special things, and you begin to think it's all about who? And they began to do what? Push away, and should. The next thing is, a one-sided relationship will do what? It's so good, loving somebody when somebody does what? Loves you back. Let me tell you, these one-sided relationships, you only call when you what? And people put people in buckets and find out what buckets you are in people's lives. Sometimes when people want money, they do what? They call certain people. Sometimes when they want somebody to come fix something, they call certain people. Sometimes when they want to go out and have fun, they call certain people. Find out which bucket you're in. The next one is that you can wear yourself thin with people. You ever seen folks say, I've had it with that person? That means their social equity with that person has what? Run out. And let me tell you something, for everybody in here that thinks they've done everything by themselves, you can't even drive down the street by your own self. The other person must do what? Obey the law. So don't be arrogant and say, I did it by myself. Now here's the catch to that. In my 40 years in industry, I have never seen anybody promoted or get a contract while they were in the room. Somebody in that group had to do what when they were not in the room? Remember that. Look for your ambassador, lock on to them, and normally they will represent you. Go ahead and clap when you're not in the room. So you can do all the talking about yourself you want, but when you're in the room, you got to have somebody else to do what? Okay. Now, you have to think differently. I cannot tell you the number of people that say, Lee, I want to be different, but they think the same. And let me tell you, you have to put yourselves in learning situations. Like these events tonight, bring young folks so they can see situations. I used to go to meetings with people that I didn't know, or who were not like me, because I wanted to be in what? A learning situation. Go back to school. But here's the best way to learn. Go somewhere, sit down, listen, and observe. And if they look at you funny, act like you've been there before. You get my drift on that? Most of my learning was in situations where I felt uncomfortable, because that's when you would. All you young folks in here, don't hang around folks like you. Don't hang around different folks. You can come back with them and play with them later. But if you're going to learn, you have to be uncomfortable, because that means that you're doing what? Closing the gap. Let's talk about this. Missteps are part of the process. In other words, many failures are part of the road to success. I have failed so many times, but the secret about failing is getting up and learning from it and keep moving. And the ones that are quitters, guess what they do? They fail and they do what? You have to take a punch and keep bouncing. Let me tell you, you can't afford to travel hopefully. No plan, no vision, no what? Equals what? No plan, no vision. Oh Lord, I'm just going to let it happen. Guilt trip God. Wait a minute now. What do you want to do? Lord, I just follow you. Oh, have you spent any time? Oh no, I'm in your hands. You get my drift? Now, if I was doing this at Cole School of Business, what would I do in Cole School of Business? I would say that you had to have a strategic plan with vision and excellence. Step-by-steps would be plotted out, and you must know every part of the journey, and you must have failure modes everywhere. That's no plan, no vision equals what? Get that down. And excellence. I'm always asked about leaders, and we're going to summarize on this. And I want you to listen very carefully to leaders because, Creed, you got some hot lights on me. I hope this video is really good. The first thing that leaders do is model the way. Leaders understand that you must have guidelines and principles on how people are treated. And they must demand that people are treated with dignity and respect. And the first person that sets that example is the who? The leader. Leaders, they have interim goals and they have measures to make sure that people are treated with dignity and respect. And they themselves model the personal excellence. If a person is sitting next to you being disrespectful, what do? Do you join in? You model that personal excellence because you are accountable as a leader to model the way. The next one is a very different one, and you look at these great leaders, you have to challenge the process. Leaders know in order for things to get better that they're going to have to challenge it. And when you challenge it, you won't be liked. Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King, Barack Obama. When you challenge the status quo, which says, I'm going to stay constantly the same, you instantly say, I'm not going to be popular. And those people that go along with you and change the process, they have to take risks. And when they make mistakes, that's when you become a leader and run to them instead of away from them. And I have a lot of leaders that ask their people to take risks. And guess what they do when things don't go well? That's when you fortify yourself, pick them up, and you lead them through that valley. The next thing is that enable others to act. You must realize that you have to have teams. You must have to have a collaborative environment. And you must create that so that people feel free to contribute without fear of reprisal and retribution. I'm talking to a lot of my CEO buddies, and they always want to hire me to talk to them. And I tell you, a lot of you aren't tough enough to make sure that people are treated fairly without fear of reprisal and retribution. And that starts with who? Them, because most of the time, the people that they fear work for who? And they set the example because they know those folks are bad. And they allow them to do what? To exist. The next thing that a leader does is inspires a shared vision. Let me tell you, going down a difficult road is hard. That leader must be charismatic. That leader must be obsessed. They must really think they can make a what? Difference. Then they must go and get people and convince them to follow them. And people won't follow a person that they think will jump off the boat. You ever notice that? Charismatic, persuasive. And the final thing a leader must do is encourage the heart. Most things in life are difficult if we change them. The leader must encourage the heart. They must find financial, social, and ways to celebrate and give credit to others so that these people on that difficult journey can continue. Because at the end of the day, they've got to want to do it. And they will fake it. But if they want to do it, they will take you and them to heights you can't imagine. Fear only gets people to be average. To be great and above, they have to want to do it. Let's talk about something here. Final thoughts. My greatest thought was the day my twins were born, and my mother told me either I raised them or she would. And she said that the greatest thing that a father could do was my day of atonement when my kids looked down at me. They said, I'm proud that man was my father. I'm proud that man. All of us who are fathers, we have an obligation to make your kids proud that you were their father when they look down on you. My boys get so mad. I'm proud of them, though. Don't say it now. There's going to come a day. And that's what my mother made me promise. You got to embrace the what? Technology and adapt. The next thing you have to